Hey guys, welcome to Quinn's Tree Farm, coming to you straight through the power of YouTube right from Cornville, Maine. Now that we got that out of the way, I am really excited to show you a new piece of equipment. I think it's going to be a must-have for everybody. I got me an automatic pruning thing. And beatbox. So, it was raining yesterday. I was feeling a little bit down on my luck, you know, because all it's done is rained all year. And I thought to myself, well, let's go buy something, right? Because that's what everybody does when they don't feel good, they go buy something. So I went down to the Home Depot and I got this tool-only DeWalt pruner. DC PR 320, 20 volt. Came with the tool only, had to have the batteries here. I stick with DeWalt because I started with DeWalt and all the batteries fit, so that's why I got DeWalt. So far, this is fastly has become a must-have tool and you need one. Why is that? Basal pruning. I love being able to see my tree and basal prune. There are other ways, maybe faster ways to do basal pruning, but I don't think so far that there's a better way to get the results and see what's going on with the tree like doing it by hand. And so far, this is the best tool that I have found to do that. Okay, class. Does anybody remember why we basal prune? That's right. It makes life easier. My findings, and it's only my opinion, I think basal pruning makes for a better product and it makes for an easier field to work with. Why is that? A couple of reasons. One, everybody cuts these off anyways when they get them into their house. So why are we feeding them? Why spend the time on stuff that people aren't going to use? Two, it allows the tree to heal, to give a better quality trunk, or butt as they call it. And lastly, it is a pleasure to work in a field that is basal pruned. Your machinery goes underneath, your sprayer goes underneath, and you do a lot less damage to the trees. Typically, I like to go 1 inch for a foot of tree, but I also kind of eyeball it a little bit because it's hard to do that. So like, an 8-foot tree would have like an 8-inch stump, and things like that. But I also look at what the foliage is doing underneath. And maybe there's a better spot where there's a nice solid whorl as opposed to some laterals that have kicked out. And that's what I do. Now, that's just something much better to work for. Oh, look, a stump. What do we do with stumps? We leave them. Why? Look at that, organic matter. Love it. Love it. I've been reading a lot about soil and soil samples and why organic matter is so important to the soil. And what better way to leave organic matter in your field than leave all the leftover stuff that you have in the tree rows. This is going to be a little bit slower release of nutrients and nitrogen, but it will get there. You know, I mean, it takes a little bit longer to break down, but this stuff is what feeds our trees. So far, I have had no trouble with this. This is still the first battery. I've done 3 rows and it's still on 3 bars. One of the things that I would worry about is getting my finger caught up in there though, all right? Don't do that, because I'm pretty sure that it can cut your bone off as quickly as it can cut one of these branches. And I don't think you'd have time to stop it. And you would be 9-finger tree farmer. One of the things I like about getting in here and basal pruning is sometimes you can see where a tree was awesome and then it wasn't so awesome. Kind of like this one. Let me show you. Get over here, you guys. See this in here? That doesn't look like it's going to be a great tree. Now I want to get that out now. It's going to change the whole dynamic of this tree. But that was something that should have come out a long time ago, because look, it's just not healthy. And as you can see, this just opened up a can of worms, because guess what this was? This was not going to be a good tree. So this is why I like basal pruning. Because we just found out in our tree farm that this was a culture. I think it's a culture. I don't know what you want to call it. It's one of those trees that got cut a couple years ago and then wasn't reset. It wasn't killed, and it just grew up from the last bud. And now we have a tree that you can't stop trimming because you don't know where to stop. Well, we'll see how it does. If not, she can go. Hey guys, so here's another example of one of those trees that you would have thought was a beauty, at least had a lot more going for it than it did. And that is what happens when you don't cut off all the greens from the bottom of a stump. And you can see here directly the cause of that. There's the stump, and this is the one that took off. I'm gonna leave this one. Hi, there you are. I'm gonna leave that one. Why? Because it looks like it's done a pretty good job growing. But typically I take those out. The reason I take those out, because you'd be like, hey Quinn, like you're making money. You just plant one seedling and this and that. Yada, yada, yada. But here's the reason why. Studies have shown, not my studies because I haven't done it long enough, but studies have shown that they take 10 to 12 years to grow into a full-size tree, as opposed to 7 to 10 years on a new seedling. A new seedling is in the range from $1 to $2 a tree. You can't tell me that saving $1 to $2 for a seedling is worth 3 or more years in the field. If I can flip these fields in 7 years, that means I can flip them 3 times in 21 years. In 21 years, holy cow, in 21 years, I'm going to be 65 freaking years old. You think I'm going to be out here doing another round? So let's flip them 3 times in 21 years as opposed to 2 times in 20 years. Let's see how this little thing does. This is a pretty thick tree. This is the same thing, right? Instead, it grew up and it caused 3 of them. So I noticed this, I want to get rid of it. This is a pretty big branch. 2 cuts, it seemed to go. Now my battery's still on 2, so that's probably a good size. Oh, love that. Look at that. The microbes in here, they just love that stuff. You know, take this one. I don't think so. Well, I suppose if you fought with it, that's pretty good. All right. So yeah, I don't think this thing is any joke. Basal pruning. it's important. All right, let's do the old crisscross applesauce, as they said back in the day. Got long legs. See Cornville and live. You better believe it. So, a couple of things. I have yet to read the manual on this. I just went and grabbed it. But so far, it is great. It has a safety. You can't pull the trigger without the safety. So you got to have all your hands on it, all your hands and fingers on it. It will, as long as you hold the trigger, it's going to stay closed. Let go, it goes back. If you start and you let off, it will kick back. Once you let off, it has to reset all over again. 20 volt max battery. You know how DeWalt works. They have all different shapes and sizes, but at the end of the day, they're 20 volts. Again, I would bet that if I cut that right now, a lot of you guys would be sick to your stomach and I would be writhing in pain. I'm pretty sure if it can cut those, it can easily cut off your finger to the bone and you'll be, like I said, a 9-fingered stumpy tree farmer. So don't do that. That being said, I find it really helpful to grab a bunch of branches and it speeds things up. So remember, be very deliberate in your actions. If you're using a tool that's going to cut your fingers off, make sure that you don't have your fingers in them. I probably wouldn't be smoking any of that electric lettuce or drinking that magic cider before using one of these. But you know, some people do better when they're smoking the electric lettuce. So again, you do you. I'm going to keep my fingers. That is not an endorsement of electric lettuce. That's just an endorsement of you doing you. All right. So, see, the flail mower would be better out to get under there, less damage, nutrients, microbes. Oh, by the way, I don't want to see one comment in any of the comment sections saying, why aren't you using this for green material at Christmas time? Why? Because I want basil prune trees. I have the time to do it now, and I live in Maine, and we have a lot of balsam fir in Maine. So, that's why, guys, I don't do it. Yeah, you know, so great tool. Really excited. It's the middle of September. We're getting ready to hit it hard here at the farm. Have some really exciting news coming up in the future. I am praying that I will have time to edit and share the process with you for the new business venture that I am going to talk to you guys about in an upcoming video. So I can't wait for that. It seemed to have stopped raining for a couple of days. And the rain makes me feel bad, but the sun makes me feel good. And as you know, I'd really rather feel bad in Maine than feel good anywhere else. So there you go, my friends. I will see you soon.
Ah!